Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got tons of great content for you today. We've got three decks that are proven winners: my own Infinite deck, FaThorNewMan's Infinite deck, and a Tournament Johnson Loki deck that is nothing like any Loki I've ever seen. In addition, we've got a shop guide, a giveaway, a bundle guide, and a pro tip. All the Marvel Snap content you can handle. Let's get started. But first, I'd like to ask you to hit that sub button, like, comment, ring that bell. There's a video every single weekday and also pretty much every Sunday at this point on this channel, sometimes two a day, at least two brand new decks to help you get to Infinite, to help you cross that high Infinite threshold, and to win Infinity Conquest. These are proven decks from the best players. We cover everything in Marvel Snap. This is your one-stop shop for everything you need. Ring that. We are also doing a giveaway. I'm not gonna do this every day. The first day of the giveaway, so I'm gonna explain everything. It is my friend FaThorNewman's birthday this week. So I'd like to try and drive some of my subs to him. So go over to his channel, hit subscribe, watch his video. It's called Alioth Makes Marvelous Sandman. It's the deck you get Infinite with. On that video, once you're subbed, hit happy birthday. You're entered to win either pass or $10 worth of gold. That simple. Giveaway goes till Thursday. We'll announce our winners Friday. Next up, we're going to look at FaThor's Infinite deck. We're going to look at my Infinite deck. We have a pro tip. We're going to look at the Oops All Peaches bundle. We are going to look at Streamer Johnson's Loki deck, and we're going to look at my shop. Please make sure you check out Streamer Johnson on either Twitch or Twitter. It's the same name. And again, giveaway for Father. While you're here, hopefully you've already subbed, right? But if you haven't, no time like the FaThorNewman's Infinite deck is really cool. It's got three different tweaks to it as opposed to the usual Sandman deck. Those three tweaks are very interesting to me. I'm not sure I buy in on one, but hey, he got Infinite faster than I did, so what do I know? The first is Luke Cage. Luke Cage as a way to deal with negative locations for a Sandman deck is really interesting. It's not usually what you see in these decks, but it can be extremely powerful. Basically, like, you don't go too high in power, so it's easy for negative locations to sort of ruin your day with this deck. Well, Luke protects from that. That could also probably be something like Scarlet Witch, and I'm going to suggest many other changes because, again, this is the one card I'm not sold on, but it is powerful, and author estimates it won him like 10 to 15% of the games it was played in. So, hey, that's not bad. Next up, we have Magneto as a change to the deck. Magneto is not usually in these decks anymore. What Magneto does is it beats other Ms. Marvel. If a deck is running Ms. Marvel, you play Magneto on the left or the right. You pull all of the fours into one spot, all the threes and fours into one spot, and that turns off Ms. Marvel's buff. Pulls her to the side, it ruins that, and then you win the game because your Ms. Marvel center is extremely powerful and still capable of winning. Which is what's also really cool is through Electro with Jeff, you can spend your turn. If you get Electro out, you can spend your turn 5 playing Magneto to mess up their plan, and then spend your turn 6 playing both Ms. Marvel and Jeff. Jeff ignores everything, so that will give you both bumps, both buffs. Turns that Magneto lane into at least a 17, and gives you 8 on the other lane with Jeff, and pretty damn powerful if I do say so myself. There's a lot to like here. This is a cube steal. Alioth can be leader. That's a major loss for this deck. I often suggest leader to replace Alioth just because it's the next best thing. It is far worse, but it is still the next best thing you can do. Jeff and Nebula are important. One can be Nightcrawler, but you're going to need the one I think is more important, just for the record, is Jeff. I think Jeff is better than Nebula for this deck, but you can just run Nightcrawler. You can also try. Ms. Marvel is super important. You have to have her for the modern versions of this. To me, Luke is the weakest link. Could be Medusa, America, or Claw. Those are the first three things I suggest changing with. I like an extra 5 so that if I don't have Sandman after our Electro, I basically guarantee myself a play. I also like the Medusa just because 2/5 is a lot of power. Could also be Lizard, and I like Claw because it's like an extra giant power buff that you can play for those rampy turns. And America just turn by turn and snapping. Remember to go to FaThorNewman's video, sub, and say happy birthday. Nebula is better than Sunspot on 1. I think Nebula is still better on 2 than Jeff, Sunspot, and Luke. That's general order. Although, again, if you think you might be going Electro, it's sometimes wise to save Jeff because If you end up needing to, you can play Jeff excuse me, Ms. Marvel on turn 6. Turn 3 is Electro Wave if humanly possible. If not, then the previous turn order, except move Nebula down because now that's not going to be great. Turn 4, you really want to Sandman or Ms. Marvel if you play Electro. If you play Wave, you probably just want to drop Doom. Doom or Sandman after on turn 5 with Electro. Excuse me, Doom on turn 5 with Electro. Sometimes Alioth if you're going to try and own Alioth. And then Sandman or Ms. Marvel if you played. Then last turn, if you Sandman, Odin is often great on basically anything, but be careful because if you get double Doombots in a location, you're turning Ms. Marvel off. So that's not the play you want in that case. If not, you're dropping Alioth, and Magneto destroys opposing Ms. where there's not a whole lot they can do. That's this deck. Let's take one last look at it. Variant style. What variants do we have? You can see my secret new variant that we'll talk about at the end of the video. I got the hit Ms. Marvel today. I'm excited. I also have Hip Nebula in here. Hip Wave, we are 1 hip short. We've only got 3. I could have the 4th. I have Hip Magneto. But whenever I run Emperor Doom, I like to run this White Magneto, which I believe is the Powers of 10 Magneto. We've got the Odin from the... Oh, we've got the 4th hip. Excuse me. Oh, no. The 5th hip? Yeah, we've got extra hips. I just don't know how to... We've also got the Jeff and the Eliath. So we're all hipped up. We've got the Conquest Odin, which is not my favorite, but I don't have a better one yet. I'll buy one when it comes up. I love this Electro. It's the best one outside of the Ultimate variant. I'm not buying an Ultimate. This Luke is great, and this is the Twitch Drop Sunspot. We also have the I Hate Sand from the Sandman bundle. Sandman, the only Sandman variant I have. I think it's fine. It's not one of my favorites, but it's perfectly fine. Pretty deck, very powerful deck. If you're struggling and want something straightforward to play, this is where you... Next up, pro tip number 4. We've been doing pro tips. There's a playlist somewhere below that has each of the pro tips, or the video that contains each of the pro tips. So this pro tip is practice snapping early and retreating. What I see a lot is people snap fairly aggressively when they're supposed to, but then they feel like they can't retreat because they commit. I think that's wrong. I think you need to practice getting used to the feeling of snapping and then retreating. So what I suggest is you play a deck with an early snap condition that still retreats a lot and snap on the card that is your snap condition when you have it in hand, when you play it around turn 2. You just get in the habit of those snaps, and at that point, you can learn that you need to retreat, and then you'll end up having to retreat fairly often after that snap. Just play the game as normal. Pretend there is no snap and retreat when you would usually retreat. The 3 decks I think that are best for this are any Zabu deck, because you very often snap on Zabu in a Zabu deck. He's such a huge tempo win. Thanos, and you can snap on either Mind Stone or 1 or Time Stone on 3. And Patriot, which you can snap basically anytime you have Patriot in hand. Patriot's one of the highest win percentage when played deck cards in Marvel. If you practice these, fighting a little cold, or the onset of a little cold, it's hard to tell. Working a school happens. If you practice these skills, you will find yourself climbing far higher, far more quickly. You need to learn that retreating isn't bad. It's a function of the game. It's like playing poker. You're not meant to win every hand of poker. You're meant to play the hands that work for you. But you need to learn to go in when the odds are in your favor and then retreat. That change. Next up, we've got my Infinite deck this season. I decided this season, I was going to climb with Move. I looked at 3 Move decks yesterday. I was going to hit Infinite with one of them and then go, look, Move can hit Infinite. But like, yeah, Move is really good right now. I decided from 93 or 94, wherever I was, to 100 to play a Series 3 only deck. This is very similar to the deck I featured last week from Emma. Emma's like a top... Emma at last check was the number 2 player in all of Marvel Snap. Emma has Shang-Chi over Iron Man. That's the only change I really made here. I felt like I needed Iron. I really like Iron Man deck. It helps you go so tall the opponents can't necessarily do anything. And also, honest to God, really like Iron Man. Can figure out how to fit it really. It being a bad bast, it doesn't really... But everything else here is relatively similar to last time. You want to sort of ignore the first couple turns, get Bast down, and then sort of spam cards. Ideally, you're keeping your Patriot and such behind Invisible Woman. to protect your to protect from other ongoings. I really, really like Mystique to copy either Patriot or Iron Man. Sometimes Blue Marvel, but rarely Blue Marvel. Usually Iron Man, Patriot is the copy. Very often I'll Iron Man on 5 and then turn 6 going something like Mystique into Squirrel Girl into Mysterio and just say, look, my board is filled and I have a bajillion power. It's crazy, crazy strong. I did lose cubes to Enchantress. I very rarely lost to Rogue. I was good enough at protecting stuff and competing multiple lanes that Rogue was okay. But like if they had Enchantress, I was in trouble. I was okay against Super Skull because other people weren't really playing Patriot. I just sort of abandoned the lane. But I don't know. Playing against like the meta is dangerous. The meta is unfriendly to this. But if you're smart, you can. I definitely got blown out for 8 twice. So 2 of those losses were 8s, but several of the wins were also 8s. Because I was staying in and foolishly going, they don't have Enchantress. I lost one because I was talking to my son, and my opponent played Enchantress too early to get rid of Invisible Woman, and then they beasted their Enchantress to play it again last turn. But I wasn't paying attention at that point. I was talking to my son, right? So they got 8. I didn't even know they snapped back, to be perfectly honest. That kind of thing happens. It's Marvel Snap. It's a casual game when you want it to be. But either way, 30 and 15 is still really good. In the 90s, I played, I'm pretty sure, either one or no bots. Um, I played a few famous people, a few friends along the way. There's just not a lot of bots from 90 to 100 right now. So if you're hitting infinite, great. I faced a lot of bots in the 70s, a few in the 80s, and almost none in the 90s. All right. This is a series through only deck. Your swing cards are Invisible Woman, Sinister, and Hood. Ant-Man, Luke Cage, Shang-Chi, Dazzler. These are the things that could change. And thanks again to Emma for reminding me that this existed. And again, he had Shang over Iron Man. I greatly prefer Iron Man, although I would like Shang. I could easily see replacing Sinister for Shang. All right, I went 30 and 15 with this deck, which is like a 65% win rate, whatever it is, 64% win rate, 66, whatever the thumbnail says. Turn 1, you pass. Turn 2, Bast, better than Visible, better than Sinister. Turn 3, if I don't have like anything crazy good to play, basically unless I have Invisible or Sinister, I Bast. I will sometimes Sinister and Bast. I don't really extra 2 points on Sinister that much. Um, Turn 4, if I played Patriot on 3, I'm deciding whether or not to Mystique right then and there, and then I'm Mystiquing in a 1-drop. Remember that if you are going to Patriot on 4, which happens sometimes, right? If you have like a 1-drop you're playing with it, say a Bast, say a Hood, to play the 1-drop and then Patriot, because again, you might want to Mystique next turn. You don't know. Because like a good turn 5 at that point would be Mystique, Stereo, right? Turn 5 is very often Iron. If I have Iron Man, I super often play it. Iron Man's better than Blue Marvel in general, but Blue Marvel is really good because if you don't see Patriot, having a buff for this deck is really important. Otherwise, it's not that strong. Turn 6, Valkyrie and Hood's Demon usually, or Hood, or Squirrel Girl. With that Valkyrie, often just wins a lane. Sometimes you go Mystique with Mysterio. So like the after Iron Man play is Mystique, then Mysterio Sinister, and then Squirrel Girl or Demon, and you just put an insane amount throughout the last turn. This deck is absolutely super fun and super strong. If you've never played it, I strongly urge you to. It feels like you're doing nothing, and then all of a sudden you've got like 30 power on one lane and you've chopped to their 30. I got 8 off of a Red Skull that had no idea what hit it. It was phenomenal. It's a very, very fun. Right. Okay. We've got we have the right number of hips. We've got 4 hips. You love to see it. We've got Bast, Mysterio, Iron Man, and Blue Marvel hips. Awesome. We've got the Rian Gonzalez Squirrel Girl here. Fantastic. Peach Momoko Mystique. Love it. I've got this Patriot Gold. I've got this Blue Marvel Gold too. Um, Alex Ross Invisible Woman. This really great Sinister Steampunk Wasp from that variant rush. I love me some Noir. I've got Noir Hood. And then I bought I want to say this is also Rian Gonzalez. This Valkyrie, that's my favorite Valkyrie. Honestly, Valkyrie is one of my favorite cards, and it's very hard to find time to play her. So that's a big part of the reason I decided to grab this deck. Oh, we've also got, excuse me, the Peach Mystique, which is one it's in all that. Oops, all peaches. As we talk about Peach, this bundle is overpriced. It's like decent value, but if you have a lot of series, if you're like more than halfway through series 3 or, have more than half of the series 4 and 5 cards, I can't buy this. It's not enough better than Token Tuesday to be really worth your gold. There is better stuff coming worth saving for. The Sugar and Spice bundle in particular in December, as my friend Savage Yeti, check him out, Savage Yeti Gaming on YouTube, does full bundle reviews with the actual math for this. Um, that's so much better that I strongly urge you to save your gold and not grab this. I almost bought this. I was this close because I like this Deadpool variant, but I have like 3 Deadpool variants. I don't need a fourth that comes with not much else of real value. So 3 days for this to taunt me, but I don't think it's worth your money. Next up, we have Johnson Zabu Loki. Johnson went to Fiona Shade Stories uh, charity tournament, which is for Trans Lifeline. Great, great, great cause. Love to see it. Love to see the Snap community rallying around supporting such a great cause. Johnson went to compete in the tournament as of recording. He's currently in the top 4. He just knocked out my friend Elite Hasa. He brought this Loki deck. And so I saw this Loki deck and I was like, I need to try this. This looks like the coolest damn thing in the world. Also, I've been dying to play my hip helicarrier, right? And I like there's not that many good helicarrier decks. So I played it and I immediately fell in love. I decided to play it through 10 conquest games and I won like 7. It's super good. Um it's got everything you would want. Like it's got obviously the Loki, right? But your collector gets fairly big just through like Olsen, Nick Fury, uh, chucking helicarrier nonsense. If you chuck helicarrier with Lady Sif, you can Ghost Rider back for a 13 point play, 13 power play on turn 4. Zabu is just stellar at the early Loki. You don't think you really care about the early Loki until you do. Um, and like sometimes you because of Zabu, you can on turn 4 get out Loki and Quinjet and just go to complete town. There's so much to like here. There's so much. This is one of the more expensive Loki decks, though. It's totally worth it. All right, Zabu is needed for this version, and obviously so is Loki. Sentinel, it can just be Mirage. I think that's barely even a loss. Mirage is good. Sentinel does 80% of that job. Snow Guard can either easily be Maria Hill or Agent 13. I suggest Maria Hill over Agent 13, but hey, follow your heart. Snow Guard is obviously better. That's the biggest change. Like changing Sentinel from Raj isn't even really a like bad thing. Maria Hill for Snow Guard is much worse. As good as Maria Hill is, Snow Guard being 2 cards is all right. 65% win rate and 10 silver tickets with this deck. I don't actually know how that happened. It must not have counted when I means. This should be a 70% win rate. Um, whatever it is. The tracker said 65% and 10 tickets, so that's what we're going with. All right, turn 1, Quinjet is the more important card than Snow Guard as a general rule, unless you're no, basically just drop Quinjet. Turn 2, Collector is better than Zabu, better than Mirage. You basically always want Collector out before you Loki, so like even if you're trying to Loki early, you'd rather have Collector. Um, Zabu is pretty much equal to Loki on turn 3. Um, you can't like you're never really gonna have that choice, right? Because unless I guess Tinker's Workshop comes out, then at that point you just drop Loki, right? But other than that, like Zabu and Loki are basically the same thing. They're both better than Sif. And you only ever Sif if you have Helicarrier. Turn 4, Loki over Fury. Usually, if you have if you drew Collector and you have Zabu out, you can always just wait the extra turn and Loki 5. It's usually worth it because that Quinjet that sorry, that yeah, that Collector just gets huge in this deck. It's like a 14, 15 power Collector, which is really nice because Shadow King's getting played enough less, and Shang-Chi like half disappeared. Keep Ghost Rider in mind if you played Lady Sif. Obviously, you want to make sure you get that 13 power for 4 before you play Loki. Turn 5, Loki is better than Zabu, is better than Fury, is better than Coulson. Turn 6, generated cards, or I like Loki and Coulson or Loki and Fury if I have Collector out, and that will often just game. This deck is horribly fun. Like I was like, I'm getting a little bored of Loki. I have like a something percent win rate with the Lambie bounce Loki. It's like 94% or something silly. It's like 16 on ladder this season. So like yikes. But overall, like This is so much more fun. This is the version I'm going to be playing. Variant time, we've got our Collector hip, our Zabu hip, our Lady Sif hip, our Nick Fury hip, and our Helicarrier hip. We are hip to this. Eh? Okay, sorry. Please don't unsubscribe. Sorry, that was bad. Okay, we've got our beautiful Ghost Rider. I believe this is Cinto. I really like this Mirage. This feels most like Mirage of all the Mirages. This Snow Guard felt like it fit the vibe of the deck, as did the Quinjet. I have the Spotlight Snow Guard and the like Hellish Quinjet. Maybe I should have played like the Ghost Rider Quinjet because I've got Ghost Rider in the deck. Maybe I'll switch that one up. And then we've got Noir Coulson, which is really cool. This deck is super pretty. It's and I decided to run the Rainbow Loki, and again, it just felt like it fit the vibe of the deck better. I don't know why. I generally prefer the one we got from the season pass, but I bought this one, so like why not run it? All right, this deck is super fun, really, really powerful, and I think severe. Please play it. My shop for the day, I bought 3 variants. I decided to buy that Ms. Marvel immediate scoop. I needed a Ms. Marvel variant. I would have been perfectly fine with the Jacinto, but if I can have a hip, and now I do have a hip. I also bought the Dracula. As you can see, I have a Dracula I like a lot, which I decided to showcase just in case I end up not running it as much. I don't know which one I like more. I have the hip Sif, hip the hip Lady Sif, and the hip Hell Cow. So I felt like when I'm running straight up Dracula discard, I probably want the hip to just like fit the motif of the deck. I've also got the hip Infinite, so maybe it goes there too. I don't know. It's pretty close. I like this Misty Knight just fine. Oh, sorry, 0. I'm now down to 10 cards I don't have variants for, and all snap. Get excited. We're getting closer and closer to done. I'm not going to be done until late December because late December is when the Hip Black Bolt comes out, and I'm holding out for that Hip Black Bolt. I'm not buying a Black Bolt variant until then. We've got our Misty Knights here. I've got 2 Misty Knights I like better than the cool sports variant. Sorry, I do like I'm lifting a bunch of weight strong guy. I mean, I just think it's better than the King of Hell. I want it to feel like the character, and this one does. I opened my 10th variant, so I got this pretty cool Colossus. I think that this is what 90s art looks like in my head. It's not actually 90s art, right? But this is what 90s art looks like in my head. Extremely cool. So I am very happy with my variant haul for the day in Marvel Snap. We'll take a look at some more of those, not tomorrow, but Wednesday, because tomorrow we're doing a giant look at Gladiator and all the spotlight caches that come with him. Thank you so much for watching. We, as always, super appreciate your support. We'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Don't forget to ring that bell so you won't miss it.